Hey everyone, welcome back to Manga Minute. I'm thrilled to share my latest recap video with you. If you missed the previous one, no worries, just take a quick peek in the description below for the link. Now, let's dive right in and enjoy.
Inside the grand court, the bishop stood solemnly before the assembly, ready to announce the fate of the accused. The chamber was heavy with anticipation as he proclaimed the verdict. Kiska would be thrown into the Katarov dungeon. The court fell silent, the weight of the judgment settling over everyone present. Kiska, kneeling before the bishop, vehemently rejected the verdict. His voice rang with desperation and indignation as he insisted that the accusations against him were false. He proclaimed his innocence, stating that he had done nothing wrong. The bishop, unyielding, dismissed Kiska's protests as nonsense. With a cold command, he ordered the guards to take Kiska away. As the guards moved to seize him, Kiska's voice rose in a final, desperate cry. He declared that he was being framed, his words echoing through the court as he was dragged away to face his grim fate. Katarov Village, the village where Kiska was born and raised. This village has an S-rank dungeon, called Katarov Dungeon. Because of this, many adventurers try to defeat it, so this place is always crowded. Personally, Kiska works as a farmer. Kiska stood in the middle of the wrecked field, his heart heavy with sorrow as he took in the devastation. The once fertile land, now in ruins, symbolized his dashed hopes and hard work turned to waste. He lamented the loss, his voice filled with grief as he whispered to himself, "My field is ruined." Nearby, Darga watched with a mocking expression, a smirk playing on his lips. He took pleasure in Kiska's misfortune, his words dripping with insincerity as he remarked, "I heard from my dad that your harvest this year was poor." Ignoring Darga's taunts, Kiska's mind raced with suspicion and anger. He silently pondered the true cause of his ruined field, convinced that Darga was behind the destruction. His thoughts were a whirlpool of frustration and helplessness as he stood amidst the wreckage, grappling with the unfairness of it all. Kiska is an alx. In this country, people with silver hair are called alx, and alx always being bullied by others. Back then, there was a human who betrayed and helped demons, and they were an alk. Even though he's always being bullied, and his field always gets wrecked, he doesn't have any other choice but to endure it. Seeing Kiska's swollen face, Namia was immediately concerned. She exclaimed in surprise and sympathy, knowing that Darga had bullied him again. With a determined expression, she led Kiska to a nearby spot where they could sit, and she began to treat his wounds. Namia was Kiska's neighbor and childhood friend, the only person in the village who truly understood him. After carefully tending to Kiska's injuries, Namia declared with a smile, "All done." Kiska, grateful for her help, thanked her. Namia couldn't help but wonder aloud why people disliked Kiska so much. Kiska, with a resigned tone, mentioned his silver hair, which he believed brought him nothing but bad luck. Despite this, Namia saw his hair as unique and cool, accepting him as he was. However, the conversation took an unexpected turn. Namia suddenly announced her intention to marry Darga. Kiska, stunned and unable to believe what he had just heard, congratulated her with a heavy heart. Seeing his reaction, Namia pressed further, questioning if he was truly okay with her decision and whether he planned to stay in the village forever. Kiska affirmed that he would, even though it meant enduring constant bullying. Namia's face fell, sadness creeping into her eyes as she urged him to reconsider. She believed that staying in the village would only result in more suffering for him. Yet, Kiska felt trapped, seeing no other place to go. With tears welling up, Namia proposed a bold idea. They should run away together. She revealed that she had savings at her house, enough for them to start a new life away from the village. Kiska hesitated, unsure if Namia was serious, but she reassured him, expressing her reluctance to marry someone like Darga. Overwhelmed by emotion, Kiska confessed his love for her, sealing his words with a kiss. Namia responded in kind, affirming her love for him as well. Ready to depart from the village, Kiska pondered to himself, feeling a glimmer of hope. Tonight, he and Namia would leave this place, and his dark days would be over. They would live happily together, free from the torment that plagued him here. As Kiska approached Namia's house, he was suddenly jolted by a shout. Recognizing Namia's voice, panic surged through him. Without a second thought, he broke into a run, fear and adrenaline propelling him forward. Bursting into the house, Kiska's heart sank at the sight before him. Darga and his friends were attacking Namia, their intentions horrifyingly clear. "Oi, silver hair!" Darga sneered upon noticing Kiska. "Why are you here?" With a trembling voice, Kiska demanded to know what they were doing. Darga's response was chillingly indifferent. "Can't you see it?" Rage and desperation welled up within Kiska. With a grim expression, he shouted for them to move, punching Darga squarely in the face. "I said hurry up and move." Darga, furious at the audacity, quickly retaliated, landing a heavy punch to Kiska's stomach. As Kiska doubled over in pain, Darga's friends closed in, ready to gang up on him. Namia, witnessing the violence unfold, pleaded desperately for them to stop. Her cries, filled with fear and anguish, echoed in the room, but seemed to fall on deaf ears. With a grim expression, Darga demanded to know why Kiska was there, asserting that Namia was his fiancée. His voice dripped with contempt and suspicion as he questioned Kiska's presence at this time. Kiska, however, remained silent, his lips tightly pressed together. His refusal to answer only fueled Darga's anger. Frustrated and impatient, Darga ordered his friends to capture Kiska and subject him to an interrogation. As Kiska was tormented, Namia's heart ached at the sight of his suffering. Unable to bear it any longer, she pleaded for them to stop, promising to reveal the truth if they ceased their assault. Kiska, despite his pain, tried to intervene, desperately urging Namia not to divulge their plan. His voice, though weak from the beating, was filled with urgency and fear. Darga, unmoved, silenced Kiska with a harsh command. Undeterred, Kiska continued to beg Namia to keep their secret, his words growing fainter with each blow. The relentless beating took its toll, and Kiska began to lose consciousness. In a moment of desperation and anguish, Namia revealed their plan to escape, her voice trembling as she spoke. The bishop read the verdict with a solemn tone, declaring Kiska guilty of taking advantage of Namia's parents' absence, infiltrating their home, committing rape, and murder. As punishment, Kiska would be thrown into Katarov dungeon, with his execution set to commence without any further statements from him. Namia had died at Darga's hands in a fit of rage after he learned the truth. In a cruel twist, all of Darga's crimes were pinned on Kiska. Despite Kiska's protests of innocence, the false testimonies of Darga and his friends, combined with the appearance of the village head, rendered his defense useless. The situation was hopeless. Katarov dungeon was infamous. No one who entered ever returned. It was effectively a death sentence. Thrown into the dungeon, Kiska's mind burned with hatred. He cursed the villagers, Darga, and the village head who had refused to listen to his testimony. Namia had been killed by Darga, yet Kiska was the one condemned. As he moved through the dark, eerie passageways of the dungeon, he couldn't help but recognize its infamous name, Katarov Dungeon, an S-rank dungeon known for its deadliness. A sudden noise interrupted his thoughts, and fear gripped him as a rank A bugbear appeared. Panic surged through him. He had heard tales from adventurers about this monster. Encountering it meant certain death. Desperately seeking an escape, Kiska ran as fast he could to avoid the bugbear, hoping for a miracle. In his frantic state, he called out for help. Suddenly, a mysterious voice offered assistance, promising a skill. An information window appeared before him, revealing he had received the skill. Save and reset. Confused and unsure how to use this new ability, Kiska barely had time to think before the bugbear closed in. With a swift and brutal punch, the monster struck Kiska down, killing him instantly. Yet, moments later, Kiska opened his eyes, bewildered. He vividly remembered dying, but here he was, alive. The realization that he had somehow survived left him in a state of shock and wonder. Kiska was born in Katarov village. He was always bullied and discriminated against as an alx. He was thrown into somewhere inside a dungeon full of bugbears, and ended up like this. Thrown into a nightmarish cycle, Kiska found himself repeatedly facing death at the hands of the relentless bugbear. Each time he perished, he inexplicably returned to moments before his demise. Confusion and despair consumed him as he struggled to understand the strange ability bestowed upon him. Save and reset. Despite his efforts to evade the bugbear, whether by running, dodging, or even attempting to find a way out of the dungeon, Kiska met the same fate repeatedly. The agony of dying over and over again weighed heavily on him. In his desperation, Kiska contemplated ending it all by disabling the skill. However, to his dismay, he couldn't find a way to deactivate it. Frustration mounted as he realized he was trapped in an endless loop of death and resurrection. Amidst the torment, memories of the injustices he had suffered flooded Kiska's mind. Namia's murder by Darga, the villagers' betrayal. The hatred and anger burned within him, refusing to be extinguished. Yet, amidst the darkness, a resolve began to take shape. Kiska knew that even if he could erase the pain with his skill, the injustices he had endured would not vanish. With grim determination, he rejected the idea of relinquishing his hatred so easily. Gathering his strength, Kiska vowed not to let this cursed skill dictate his fate forever. Though trapped in an endless cycle, he clung to the hope that somewhere, somehow, he would find a way to break free from the relentless torment. In the depths of Katarov Dungeon, Kiska found himself locked in a relentless battle against the formidable bugbear. Despite dying countless times, he persevered, learning the creature's attack patterns through sheer repetition. Each encounter brought him closer to understanding how to evade and strike back. After enduring over 100 deaths, Kiska's movements became honed and precise. He anticipated the bugbear's swings, dodging with practiced agility. His counterattacks, though initially weak, began to chip away at the monster's strength. In a moment of opportunity, Kiska managed to temporarily incapacitate the bugbear, buying himself precious seconds to plan his next move. He knew the creature would awaken soon, urging him to swiftly explore the dungeon in search of resources. Discovering a hidden treasure chest, Kiska's hopes soared briefly before being dashed upon finding nothing of immediate use. Undeterred, he pressed on, navigating unfamiliar corridors with a mix of caution and urgency. Despite his improved combat skills, the dungeon remained treacherous. A misstep led him into a trap that claimed his life once more. Yet, with each failure, Kiska grew more determined. His resolve hardened with every iteration, his movements becoming a symphony of practiced strikes and evasions. Finally, after more than 200 attempts, Kiska's persistence paid off. With a precise strike to the bugbear's vulnerable eye, he managed to incapacitate it for a crucial 35-second window. It was a small victory in the face of overwhelming odds, but it fueled his determination to find a way out of the dungeon and break free from the endless cycle of death and rebirth. Calculating his next move with caution, Kiska assessed the dangers ahead, acknowledging the presence of numerous traps. He plotted his path meticulously, determining how far he could safely venture. Approaching a trap with resolve, Kiska steeled himself and leaped downward, narrowly avoiding the deadly spikes that awaited at the bottom. His successful evasion allowed him to outmaneuver the pursuing bugbear, breathing a sigh of relief at his narrow escape. With a relieved expression, Kiska pressed onward, finally discovering a hidden room, a treasure room. His eyes lit up with excitement as he laid eyes on the long-awaited treasure chest. Opening the chest eagerly, a notification appeared, announcing his acquisition of the Crystal of Wisdom and presenting him with a list of skills to choose from. A voice prompted him to select one. Surveying the list of skills, Kiska deliberated carefully. He dismissed magic-related skills, deeming them impractical without means to wield them. Considering his survival and escape, he debated between acceleration for speed or stealth for concealment. After careful consideration, Kiska opted for stealth. With his decision made, he acquired the skill, feeling a surge of anticipation. However, his moment of triumph was short-lived. The passage leading into the room suddenly sealed shut, trapping him inside. Before he could react, a horde of bugbears materialized, surrounding him from all sides. Realizing his dire predicament, Kiska lamented his encirclement. Outnumbered and with no room to maneuver, he was swiftly overwhelmed by the creatures, meeting his demise once more without a chance to execute his plan. In the depths of Katarov Dungeon, Kiska found himself repeatedly thrown back to the starting point each time he perished. Despite the brutal trials, he persisted, driven by a determination to reach the treasure room once more. After numerous attempts, Kiska successfully navigated past the traps and evaded the bugbears to find himself standing before the treasure chest once again. As he faced off against the swarm of 10 aggressive bugbears, Kiska's senses sharpened. With a newfound clarity born from his repeated trials, he exclaimed in realization, He could perceive their movements in slow motion. It was a breakthrough, but one that came after enduring more than 200 deaths. However, even with this heightened perception and the previously acquired stealth skill, Kiska understood the grim reality. Stealth alone was insufficient against such overwhelming odds. The S-rank skill had proven useless against the sheer force and aggression of the bugbears. With the new skill in hand, Kiska faced off against a bugbear once more. As the creature lunged towards him, Kiska's movements blurred with incredible speed. In a split second, he countered with a devastating punch that connected squarely with the bugbear's face. The satisfaction of a successful strike was short-lived. However, as the impact of the acceleration magic took its toll on Kiska's body, pain shot through his hand, and he recoiled in shock to find it broken and mangled from the force of his own attack. Staring at his injured hand in disbelief, Kiska realized the harsh truth. He had underestimated the physical strain that accompanied the acceleration magic. Despite its potential benefits, his body was not yet accustomed to handling its immense speed and power. "Here again," he muttered grimly, surveying the familiar surroundings. Despite his efforts, progress was slow against the formidable bugbears guarding the treasure room. After countless attempts, 225 to be exact, Kiska finally breached the treasure room once more. Fatigue weighed heavily on him as he opened the chest repeatedly, frustration evident in his weary voice. "Just getting here is draining enough," he sighed, lamenting the additional deaths caused by his lapse in vigilance. In his relentless pursuit to overcome the bugbears, Kiska tried various strategies. He experimented with using his speed to evade attacks and strike back swiftly. "I aim for the eyes," he thought aloud, reflecting on his tactics. Yet, the bugbears proved resilient, enduring the pain and retaliating with relentless ferocity. Switching tactics, Kiska attempted stealth, trying to strangle the bugbears from behind. However, even this approach failed as he was quickly overwhelmed by their strength and numbers. "I can't defeat them with speed alone," he concluded bitterly after another failed attempt, frustration boiling over. With each revival, Kiska faced the harsh reality of starting anew, his resolve wavering but never breaking. "I can't even summon the courage to press the skill icon," he admitted, aware of the immediate danger awaiting him each time he respawned. Despite the repeated setbacks, a fire burned within Kiska, a deep-seated hatred and a relentless determination to escape the dungeon and exact revenge. "There's no way out," he declared firmly, his eyes narrowing with determination. "I will do it. I will escape this dungeon and take revenge with my own hands." As the attempts numbered well past 400, Kiska finally found a strategy that worked. With physical strengthening and calculated attacks, he managed to overpower one of the bugbears for the first time. The sense of accomplishment was palpable as notifications of skill points and level-ups flashed before him. "If I can keep this up," he mused, heartened by his progress, "I might just defeat them all." However, the road ahead was daunting. With each victory, the requirement for skill points to advance grew exponentially. Doubt crept in as Kiska realized the magnitude of the challenge ahead. "It's impossible," he muttered, staring at the daunting task of accumulating 100 skill points for the next level. Yet, with each setback and every small victory, Kiska's resolve hardened. Around his 510th attempt, frustration mingled with determination as he steeled himself for the battles yet to come. "I can't take it anymore," he growled, his voice tinged with a mix of exhaustion and unyielding determination. In the depths of the dungeon, Kiska's bitterness towards his fate grew with each failed attempt to escape. He cursed Darga, blaming him for the predicament that trapped him in this nightmarish cycle. Hatred smoldered in his heart, fueling a vow to exact vengeance on the villagers who had betrayed him. Exhausted and on the brink of despair, Kiska's resolve faltered. He had almost resigned himself to the idea that escape was impossible. Then, in a moment of accidental selection, Kiska acquired a new skill: provoke. Startled by the unexpected acquisition, he initially dismissed it as useless. "There's no way a skill like this will help," he muttered bitterly, resigned to yet another futile attempt. But with nothing to lose, he decided to try it anyway. With a mixture of defiance and desperation, Kiska taunted the nearest bugbear. To his surprise, the creature reacted instantly, charging towards him with reckless abandon. Kiska deftly avoided the attack, watching as the bugbear crashed into the dungeon wall, momentarily stunned by its own force. As he observed the unexpected outcome, a flicker of hope ignited within Kiska. "Could this be the breakthrough I need?" He wondered aloud, cautiously optimistic. Emboldened by the success of his newfound skill, Kiska directed his provocation towards the other bugbears. Chaos erupted as the creatures, goaded by his taunts, turned on each other with savage ferocity. Despite the grim circumstances, a grim smile tugged at Kiska's lips. Looks like this skill might have some use after all. He chuckled darkly, a renewed determination blazing in his eyes. As the dust settled, only 2 bugbears remained standing against Kiska's unwavering determination. Fatigue weighed heavily on him, a testament to the hundreds of attempts it had taken to reach this pivotal moment. Yet, despite the odds stacked against him, he remained resolute. With a steely gaze fixed on his remaining adversaries, Kiska declared his intent with unwavering conviction. Just 2 left, he muttered to himself, his voice tinged with a mix of exhaustion and grim determination. I'll take both of you at once. Around his 510th attempt, Kiska achieved what had seemed unattainable for so long, the conquest of the treasure room guarded by 10 formidable bugbears. It was a victory earned through sheer perseverance, strategy, and the newfound mastery of his skills. As he stood amidst the spoils of his hard-won triumph, Kiska's thoughts turned to what lay beyond the dungeon's confines. The journey ahead promised greater challenges and unknown dangers, but for now, he allowed himself a moment of hard-earned satisfaction. After overcoming the grueling challenge of the treasure room, Kiska discovered a new passage revealed upon his victory. The path ahead offered a glimmer of hope amidst the dungeon's relentless trials. However, the floor he now treaded was fraught with a menacing monster that had already claimed his life 10 times before. Despite the odds stacked against him, fortune favored Kiska once. Upon one of his respawns, he found himself in an updated room devoid of monsters. Just the thought that he would no longer have to drive himself crazy fighting those monsters over and over made his heart feel a little lighter. Having discovered a new passage in the labyrinthine dungeon, Kiska ventured forth with curiosity driving him forward. At the end of the passage, he stumbled upon something unexpected, 3 teleportation circles laid out before him. Each circle shimmered with arcane energy, hinting at their potential to transport him to different destinations within the dungeon. After a moment of contemplation, Kiska made his decision and stepped into the middle circle, knowing that if he chose incorrectly, he could always respawn and try again. Transported through the magical gateway, Kiska found himself in an unfamiliar corridor. Determined to press onward, he navigated through the twists and turns until he reached a chamber where a girl was held within a mystical barrier. Recognition sparked within him as he realized she was the one who had bestowed upon him a crucial skill during his trials. Intrigued and moved by a sense of obligation, Kiska approached the barrier cautiously. With a tentative touch, he broke the barrier that had imprisoned the girl, freeing her from the seal that bound her. With a worried expression, Kiska checked on the girl he had just freed from her seal. She introduced herself as Uchiha Sabaki, explaining that she was once an ex-hero sealed within the dungeon. Curiosity sparked, Kiska revealed his own name to her. Kiska? That's a nice name, Uchiha remarked with a gentle smile. Suddenly, Uchiha made an unexpected request, asking Kiska to bend down. Hesitant but curious, he complied, only to find himself taken aback as she kissed him. Flustered, Kiska questioned her actions, to which Uchiha explained that she simply wanted to express her gratitude. Despite his initial surprise, Kiska found himself pondering Uchiha's intentions. Her straightforward gesture left him uncertain about her motives. Recognizing Kiska's desire to escape the dungeon, Uchiha extended a hand to him, offering to guide him out. With a sense of determination and newfound companionship, Kiska accepted her offer, ready to face the challenges ahead alongside his unexpected ally. As they ventured deeper into the dungeon in search of an exit, Kiska and Uchiha encountered formidable monsters blocking their path. Uchiha, demonstrating her battle-honed skills, swiftly dispatched the creatures with ease, her prowess leaving Kiska in awe. Witnessing Uchiha effortlessly defeat an A-rank headless mule, Kiska couldn't help but marvel at her strength and agility. Her combat prowess was evident, each strike executed with precision and power. Uchiha, sensing Kiska's admiration, paused to ask him a question. She sought his opinion on her strength, to which Kiska responded affirmatively, acknowledging her abilities without hesitation. Kiska observed Uchiha with intrigue, as she efficiently used a spatial box to store materials from the defeated A-rank headless mule. The concept of such a device fascinated him, an item capable of storing and retrieving items at will. Acknowledging Ajiha's explanation about the spatial box, Kiska absorbed the information, recognizing its utility in their perilous journey ahead. Their path forward remained uncertain, prompting Kiska to inquire about their destination. Ajiha revealed their next objective, confronting the dungeon's mini-boss in a nearby chamber. This revelation prompted Kiska to inquire about Ajiha's intentions regarding the impending battle. She explained that defeating the mini-boss was necessary to progress further into the dungeon. Standing before a formidable gate deep within the dungeon, Ajiha expressed her gratitude towards Kiska. She credited him with freeing her from the dungeon seal, a debt she intended to repay by fighting alongside him. Kiska, in his usual humble manner, acknowledged Ajiha's words. He reflected on how her guidance and strength had sustained him through the challenges they faced together, leveling the playing field between them. As they ventured further into the room beyond the gate, they were confronted with a daunting sight. A towering S-rank golem awaited them. Its massive form filled the chamber, its presence imposing and its strength undeniable. As they faced off against the towering S-rank golem, Kiska's eyes widened in astonishment at its immense size, estimating it to be around 10 meters tall. Ajiha, displaying her battle-ready stance, quickly positioned herself protectively in front of Kiska, urging him to stay behind her. From his vantage point on the sidelines, Kiska watched in awe as Ajiha engaged the colossal golem head-on. Her strength and skill were evident as she held her ground against the golem's relentless assault. He felt a surge of confidence in her abilities, convinced that she would emerge victorious against such a formidable opponent. However, his optimism wavered as Ajiha was unexpectedly pushed back by a powerful blow from the golem. Concern gripped Kiska as he realized the gravity of the situation. They were in danger of being overwhelmed. Drawing upon his own skills and instincts, Kiska decided to intervene. Using his taunting skill, he diverted the golem's attention towards himself, risking direct confrontation. His tactic worked. As the golem turned its massive frame towards him, its attention momentarily diverted. In the midst of the chaos, Ajiha, fearing for Kiska's safety, shouted out in panic, urging him to avoid the golem's attacks. To her relief and surprise, Kiska evaded the golem's assault unscathed, demonstrating his agility and quick reflexes. Seizing the opportunity, Kiska noticed a critical weakness in the golem's defense, an arm wedged into the chamber wall. With a clear command to Ajiha, he directed her to exploit this vulnerability. With renewed determination and coordinated effort, Kiska and Ajiha strategized to exploit the golem's momentary disadvantage, their partnership proving essential in turning the tide of the daunting battle. Ajiha swiftly seized the opportunity presented by Kiska's diversion. With a fluid motion and precision honed through years of combat, she unleashed her sacred sword technique, Dragon Slayer Slash. The blade sliced through the air with deadly accuracy, finding its mark on the golem's vulnerable spot. The dungeon's formidable mini-boss, the massive golem, crumbled under the force of Ajiha's decisive strike. As the echoes of battle subsided, Kiska allowed himself a moment of cautious optimism. The defeat of the mini-boss hinted at a potential turning point in their perilous journey through the dungeon. However, underlying his relief was a lingering sense of uncertainty. Kiska knew that the challenges ahead would only grow more daunting as they ventured deeper into the labyrinthine depths. With Ajiha's strength and his own resilience, they forged ahead, prepared for whatever trials awaited them in their quest for freedom. After defeating the golem, Kiska and Ajiha pressed forward through the dungeon, their eyes peeled for any signs of an exit that would lead them out of their labyrinthine prison. Their search led them to a small passage that Ajiha spotted first. Excitedly, she called out to Kiska, drawing his attention to a concealed room hidden within the dungeon's depths. Intrigued, they followed the passage's twists and turns until they emerged into a surprisingly well-furnished room. Kiska marveled at the unexpected discovery, his curiosity piqued by the room's existence in such a desolate place. He voiced his wonder aloud, questioning the origins and purpose of the room. Ajiha offered a grim explanation, suggesting that the room was likely created by a vampire, possibly as a personal sanctuary within the dungeon's confines. The revelation startled Kiska, prompting him to inquire further about the presence of vampires in the dungeon. Confirming his suspicions, Ajiha spoke of Judith, a powerful vampire who had established herself as a formidable presence within the dungeon. The discovery of the secret room, supposedly belonging to the vampire Judith, unsettled Kiska deeply. Thoughts of potential repercussions gnawed at him. What if their presence angered the powerful vampire? Uchiha, however, maintained a calm and collected demeanor. She dismissed Kiska's concerns with a relaxed assurance, suggesting they rest in the room for the night, citing her own fatigue as justification. Despite his lingering unease, Kiska trusted Uchiha's judgment. He acknowledged his apprehensions but chose to believe in her assessment that their temporary stay wouldn't provoke the vampire's wrath. As Uchiha settled onto the bed in the cozy room they had discovered within Judith's domain, she called out to Kiska, inviting him to join her for a conversation. He hesitated briefly, then complied, sitting down beside her. Looking at Uchiha with a mix of uncertainty and vulnerability, Kiska broached a sensitive topic. He questioned her thoughts on his distinctive silver hair, wondering if she found it odd. Uchiha, surprised by his concern, sought clarification. Upon understanding his insecurity about his hair color, she reassured him with genuine warmth. She expressed admiration for his silver hair, finding it unique and even magical in its appearance. Kiska, visibly relieved by her acceptance and kind words, absorbed her reassurance. Uchiha's affirmation provided him with a sense of comfort and acceptance, reaffirming their growing bond as companions in their perilous journey through the dungeon. Hearing Uchiha's sincere compliment about his silver hair, Kiska found himself reflecting deeply. For him, his hair color wasn't just a trait but a reminder of his heritage from the Arcus tribe, a lineage he had often felt ostracized for. Uchiha's kind words resonated with him, marking only the second time someone had viewed his hair positively, the first being Namia. Uchiha's mention of being from a different world caught Kiska off guard. It stirred a mix of curiosity and surprise within him. He hadn't encountered many who claimed to hail from another realm, but Uchiha's confidence and sincerity led him to accept her statement without hesitation. Kiska sat in contemplation, his thoughts swirling with the newfound closeness he felt towards Uchiha. He couldn't help but wonder if their connection was somehow influenced by her origins from another world. As he pondered, his stomach suddenly growled loudly, reminding him of his hunger. Upon hearing his hunger, Uchiha swiftly offered to prepare a meal for him. Kiska admitted that he hadn't eaten much since entering the dungeon, prompting Uchiha to declare her intention to cook for him using the headless mule meats stored in her item box. Soon, the aroma of freshly cooked food filled the room, drawing Kiska's attention. He was struck by the sight of the meal Uchiha had prepared. Gratefully, he accepted her invitation to eat, marveling at the flavors as he took his first bite. The food surpassed his expectations, and Kiska couldn't help but express his gratitude. With each bite, he found himself not only savoring the nourishment, but also appreciating Uchiha's thoughtfulness and culinary skill. The meal became a moment of warmth and comfort in the midst of their daunting journey through the dungeon, strengthening the bond between Kiska and Uchiha even further. Kiska savored each bite of the meal Uchiha had prepared, his thoughts drifting to the scarcity of food within the dungeon. Despite the limited resources, Uchiha had managed to create a delicious dish using herbs and seasonings she had found in their item box. It was the first proper meal he had enjoyed since being exiled to the dungeon, a pleasant surprise that moved him deeply. As Kiska reflected on the taste and the warmth of the food, tears unexpectedly welled up in his eyes. The simple act of eating a well-cooked meal reminded him of the hardships he had endured and the rare moments of comfort he found along the way. Seeing Kiska's tears, Uchiha grew concerned, worried that she had accidentally made the food too spicy. Kiska, embarrassed by his emotions, brushed off her concern with a small fib about the spice, attempting to lighten the mood. Feeling weary from the day's trials, Kiska decided to retire for the night, suggesting he sleep on the couch while offering Uchiha the bed. However, Uchiha countered his proposal, suggesting they share the bed together. Uncomfortable with the idea, Kiska hesitated and politely declined, feeling unsure about sharing such intimate space with Uchiha despite their growing camaraderie. As they prepared to settle in for the night, Kiska's mind was consumed with thoughts of Uchiha and their journey through the dungeon. He reflected on his reliance on her guidance and support, feeling a sense of inadequacy compared to her capable demeanor. He resolved to find a way to contribute more meaningfully to their escape from the dungeon. However, his contemplations were abruptly interrupted when he noticed Uchiha already seated on top of him. Startled by her unexpected position, Kiska began to question her intentions, but before he could speak, Uchiha silenced him with a kiss. She gently took his hand and placed it on her chest, urging him to feel her heartbeat. Blushing at the intimacy of the moment, Ajiha confessed her feelings for him, declaring her love. Kiska, taken aback by her sudden declaration, couldn't fathom what he had done to deserve such affection. Ajiha reassured him, explaining that he had saved her. She revealed that she had been sealed away in the dungeon for centuries, alone and waiting for a savior. She had bestowed her skill upon numerous adventurers in the hopes that one of them would be the one to rescue her. Hearing this revelation, Kiska realized the significance of Ajiha's actions. She had chosen him, believing that he could be the one to free her from her lonely imprisonment. This realization filled Kiska with a mix of emotions: awe at the trust Ajiha had placed in him and determination to live up to her expectations. Ajiha's revelation left Kiska stunned, his mind reeling from the weight of her words. She had bestowed her skill upon countless adventurers, each failing to reach her until he had arrived, the one she had awaited as her prince. As Kiska processed the implications of her confession, Ajiha began to undress, her actions signaling a desire for intimacy. Caught off guard by her sudden advance, Kiska's instincts kicked in. He hesitated, then gently but firmly pushed Ajiha away, his voice trembling as he pleaded for her to stop. Ajiha, surprised and hurt by his rejection, questioned his reluctance. Kiska struggled to explain, revealing that his heart belonged to another. Despite his rejection, Ajiha persisted, offering to be his second choice if that was all he could offer. But Kiska's emotions were too conflicted, his loyalty to his love overriding any possibility of a relationship with Ajiha. In his distress, he accidentally pushed her, causing her to fall to the ground. Immediately regretting his actions, Kiska rushed to Ajiha's side, apologizing profusely and checking if she was hurt. As Kiska lay in the darkness of the night, separated from Ajiha, his thoughts were turbulent. Ajiha's advances had unsettled him deeply, evoking memories of past traumas involving unwanted advances. He regretted his forceful rejection of her, realizing he should have handled the situation more delicately despite his clear refusal. Deep down, he acknowledged his reliance on Ajiha's abilities to navigate the dungeon and escape its clutches. As morning dawned and Kiska reluctantly opened his eyes, he was jolted from his thoughts by a horrifying sight. Before him lay Ajiha, lifeless and hanging from a makeshift noose. Shock and guilt washed over him as he realized the gravity of what had transpired during the night. His rejection had inadvertently led to Ajiha taking her own life, a tragic consequence of his actions. In that moment, Kiska was overwhelmed with remorse and sorrow.